Okay, there we go. So, all right, revision and then planning out a website, creating the website, and then how to publish the website, right? Um, so I've broken that whole thing down into a couple of sections. We're going to talk about domain name, servers and hosting, FTP, and then I will share some free resources I have used in the past, and hopefully you can make use of them as well. And then our final topic for the night is going to be MindTap, where we will do the first assignment. All right. So after I finish with free resources, let's take a short break, 10-minute break or so, and then let's get into MindTap. All right. So if you haven't opened your MindTap account already, I would suggest that you do it as soon as possible. Okay, revision. So what did we learn in the last class? We learned how to stylize fonts, text, lists, and even links, right? Using pseudo class. There were more versions, like there were more things in pseudo class that we needed to learn, but we learned how to stylize links, and that's quite an important thing when building a website. And then we learned how to organize content inside of HTML, right? I told you everything needs to be packaged properly. If you don't package things properly, things are going to get messy, right? So you need to have a clear plan and a clear understanding of how things are organized, and the only one who can teach you to organize is yourself. So you have to make sure um, that things are inside of boxes, and those boxes are inside of different boxes, stuff like that. Then we learned a little bit about float and clear. Again, this is a topic, this is an outdated technique. However, it is still very important that you learn what float and clear is. You don't need to be 100% sure. I've been doing HTML, CSS for a little bit. I still don't understand it. And honestly, there's no shame in ever fully understanding it, because there are new methods and new techniques that just those things will just not uh, sorry, those things will already cover the float and clear. It's just that you have to know what it is. All right. And then we covered pseudo class and pseudo elements. Okay, does anybody have any questions from the last class, what was taught? Yes, no?
No questions.
No.
questions.
All right, perfect. So planning out a website. It is very important to plan out a website, right? Planning out website means thinking about the structure, the placement, and the organization of the content that goes inside of a website. Now, this is something I've been saying since the graphic design class. You can just think of everything and just create everything, last minute. But it is just better if you have a followed structure. And I'm sure everybody remembers how we went through the capstone project, right? Now that project was built to sort of get you adapted to actually learning how to build websites. All right, you created a flyer over there. Now you're creating a website which requires more structure, and which requires you to know all of the content, and how are going to organize it. Just because you have content and you know how to build a website doesn't mean you can build like a really good website. In order to build a really good website, you should always plan out from the very beginning. And the best thing to do is create rough sketches of how you plan to create a website. by starting on a blank slate like a piece of paper. Same thing we did in Capstone Project 1, right? I told you to create 5 structures over there. Just to think about how you would create your flyer. Same concept applies to when you're creating a website. When you're creating a single page website or a multi-page website, it is best that you start out on a piece of paper, right? Now, after your initial sketches, you then move on to creating digital renderings, which are called wireframes. And we did this part also in Capstone 2. We started to digitalize things, right? Does everybody remember that, or just is it gone now at this point?
Remember.
Just 1%? Just 1% remembers?
Yeah, we remember.
Remember. I remember.
All right. I'm not trying to treat you like children, but it's very important that you are paying attention on these matters. All right. Anyways, so um, you know the sketches you can just do on a piece of paper, or in the big companies, what they do is they get like the big whiteboards, and then they start creating structures on there, right? Just rough sketches, and then they will move on to just wireframing it, just creating digital renderings of things. These are some free resources to create wireframes, to start digitalizing them. They're free. This wireframe.cc is just a website, and you can just go without having to download anything and just start creating stuff, like just mock-ups of your website. The thing with the websites is you sort of have to know the calculations of what the sizes of your website are going to be, how big this is going to be, how big that is going to be, how big the picture is going to be. So wireframing helps quite a bit in doing that. And then there's something called balsamic mockup. I think Sheetal used this a while back. Am I right, Sheetal?
No, I did not.
Oh, okay. Someone talked about balsamic mockup. Anyways, this is these are free resources, and then there's like a ton of other resources as well, but these are the ones that I have used. They work fine. If you find something else, let me know so that we can try it out together, but for now, this is good enough for you to know, right? Okay, so let's go over what is wireframing again. um, in the last class, I was sort of mixing up this idea of just sketching and calling it a wireframe. Right now, we have to get into the technicalities of things. When you put when you put drawings on a piece of paper, when you're doing a website, that's not a wireframe. That's just a sketch. Okay, that's just a drawing. A wireframe is when you actually create like a proper renderation of what your website is going to look like. All right, so what is it? So website wireframes can be compared to blueprints of any construction project. And it's meant to give you a clear picture of how things are going to look, right? When an architect designs a house, he starts on a piece of paper, and then he will move on to creating the blueprint, right? Or do they just start making houses from the sketches that the architect made?
Well, from the blueprint prints.
Thank you, Rodrigo. um so that's what wireframing in web design means. Okay, you have to create this proper structure and proper renderation, right? And nowadays it's all digital, so that's what you do. All right, so wireframes are meant to show you the website structure. All right, and show the main components of each and every screen. And the website is not usually one page, there are multiple pages, right? So you sort of have to create a continuity and stuff like that, and you will know, okay, if I'm going to put this content here, and it's going to look like this because this is the amount of content that I have on this page, what should the next page look like, because it's the same website but it doesn't have the same content, or it has more content, or it has less content, right? So each and every page is usually different, um, because of the content it has, like the text, pictures, I don't know, just like different components, right? So it's very important that you sort of have like an idea in mind when you're creating it, and the best way to do it is through wireframes. All right, and it is basically a map of your website. Wireframes also will sort of tell you where to go and how to do and this and that, so it gives you like a proper way of before you create, it'll give you a proper way of how you should start with the project. All right. Now, organizing content inside of a website is extremely important. By categorizing things from the very beginning, you will have a much easier time placing the content of the HTML, placing the content inside of the HTML. All right. And you will avoid confusions during the building process if you manage to actually go through the step-by-step process. All right. Now, organizing things, what does that mean? Organizing things means like, what kind of naming system are you going to use for your files, for if it's like a really big website, you're going to have to use div and IDs and classes and stuff like that. So what are you going to start naming? Just, I mean, it's not like you have to think about what you're going to name your files for 3 days, but you kind of have to know what you're going to name it, right? um, and the framing of your pictures, what picture size is it, like, is it going to be a big picture on the top, like where are the small pictures going to go, stuff like that. And then the size of your letterings, which means like your headers, welcome page, and all of that, like menu, how big is it going to look? Obviously you're going to be able to change those things, but it's good to know, and it'll give you some sort of a you know it'll give you, when you start making it, it'll be very helpful. All right. um Now, of course, you can do all of these things as you go. You don't have to just start creating wireframes and stuff like that. um, but in order for you to create like good, best user experience, and user experience is what? Someone else using your website, right? What does someone else think about your website? That is user experience. Now, in order for them to have like a pleasant experience, um, you should follow this structure, and you should also do it for your own sanity. uh, you can do things as you go. If it's like a one-page website, you don't have to just start planning out everything. You can, but what if it's like 100-page website? Then you need to have everything planned out. Not even 100, like, I don't know, 5-page website, 6-page website. If you do things this way, you will not go crazy in the process. All right. And and that is definitely my advice. You have learned the entire process of through in the graphic design program, sorry, in the graphic design class. You went through each and every one of these phases, except we designed something else. Then now you are designing a website, which is more technical, and you have to worry about more things. That was art class. this is IT, this is computer science. So art and computer science, even though I am an art major and I shouldn't, I should say good things about the subject that I studied, it doesn't compare. It doesn't compare. These things are way more complicated, and that is why you make the big bucks over here in these careers. Starting salary 70,000, 80,000. And it goes all the way up to 300, 400. All of these billionaires, tech billionaires, they learned how to create all of these things, and they sold it and whatnot. So how does one become a billionaire? You start with the small things, and when you start with the small things, you kind of have to do things in the right way, and this is what I just talked about, is doing things the right way. Okay. All right. Creating a website. Now, once everything is planned out and okay, I'm all set, I have my wireframes, my sketches, and then from sketches to wireframes, and I know how I'm going to name my files, and I have the content. Remember, one thing is very important to know. Okay, so if you're usually, what happens is you're building websites, right? Most of the cases is that you're building a website for somebody else. So the most important thing you need to have is what? Anybody? Hello, anybody? What is the most important thing that you should have when building a website?
Content?
Yes, content. Because if you don't have content, it's just an empty page, right? And if you have the content, you know how big things are going to be, and like where you can place them and stuff like that. So content is probably the most important thing you need to have in your website. Otherwise, it's just an empty page. When content includes all of the paragraphs, articles, all of the images, um, and you should also know, if you're going to be creating it for someone else, you should also know how they want their website to um, transition, right? Where, like, what kind of pages, what do they want to talk about in their website? That's what you should know. All right, so I have two videos. I think it'll be like no, not 15 minutes, 20 minutes in total. So let's watch that. Okay, the first one is just about uh, him laying down the HTML, but it's sort of important for you to know. He does it like really quick, but he still has a plan in mind. So let's just watch that.
Hey, and welcome to the end of this series.
Okay, can you guys hear the volume?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Right.
Big header area, a main content area. Glad that we're here, but we're at the end, and I just want to cover making a really basic layout. And here we have a very basic layout. This is what we're going to be building together: a nice big header area, a main content area with a sidebar, and a footer down at the bottom. Looks simple, but if you can do this, you can build. This is the real foundational skills of making really nice websites. So I'm really doing this one from scratch. So the first thing I need to do is make a new folder on my desktop, and I'm going to call this my first layout. And then I'm going to right click on there and choose Open with Atom, which is the code editor that I've been using for this whole series. Now, I don't have much of a layout, but whenever I am doing layouts, I like having the visual here while I'm working. It just makes it a little bit easier. So I'm going to keep this on the side for the beginning part here. So I just hit a Control or Command N to make a new file, or of course you can use your file new file. And I'm right away going to save that because I want to tell Atom this is an HTML file. And I'm inside my first layout. The home page, which will be the only page in this demo, but will be my index.html. And now I'm ready to start writing something. So the first thing we always need to do is declare the doc type. Doc type HTML. And so we're telling the browser that we have an HTML file, and then we have to open our HTML tag. and close our HTML tag to tell the browser that this is where our HTML is. Next, we need two other tags. We need a head, close head, and I need my body, close body. So I have my doc type, then I have my HTML tags. Inside of there I have an open head, close head, and I have my body, close body. So if you remember from earlier on, our head is where we put the extra information, and the body is where we put the content that we'll actually be seeing on the screen. So I'm first going to come into my head here, and we're going to give this the meta tag for our car set, which is one of the important ones, and pretty much everyone will always just be using UTF-8. We're going to look at another meta tag that I haven't looked at that's fun. We're going to do meta